Rødgrød med fløde. Hey, this is a real dessert, and it's everyone in Denmark knows this. And so if they find out you're American, which they will pretty fast, no offense, and if you ask about the language, they'll probably have you say this, which is impossible, but it's just for our entertainment. It's very funny. Get back to that.
Can you say it one more time?
Rødgrød med fløde. Yeah, okay.
I got it. That's all I wanted.
Hey, what else? You know about Denmark? And you can say, oh, it's the capital of Sweden, right? But if you say that, I will leave immediately. You can also say,
So
yes.
I heard that the amount of words in Danish is short, and so the people tend to be very direct. There's not a lot of fluff language, and so people are very direct and they tell you what they think. And
Oh my gosh. Glad you said that, because we are. Some more than others. I lean towards the very direct side of the spectrum, which is super funny. And when I usually love speaking English more than Danish, because English has such a wide range of vocabulary, but in Danish you kind of have to stick to like specific words. Not that the vocabulary is really small, but like much smaller than English. English is insane. So we're super direct, also because we appreciate our time. And you do that in America too, but in America it's a little different because you have the go like attitude to everything. Like you gotta graduate as fast as possible with the best grades. And you have to get a job right after you graduate, otherwise you'll die. And you have to get married super fast. And have to all this like in this timeline. In Denmark, we value time as in like you can see us as a little lazy because we just take time to appreciate the moment more than the future. If that makes sense. And so we don't want to waste our time saying fluffy things like, if you maybe want to possibly go out with me on Friday, that could be nice. But we are very direct, so good.
How do you ask someone out and visit?
I'm glad you said that.
That's going to, but you know, I can keep my options open.
I mean, you're gonna see a lot of guys and you're like, oh, this is a different country. No offense to anyone. How do you ask someone out in Danish? Okay, I'll give you my very short spiel on dating in Denmark, shall I? Yeah, get ready, everyone. I'm also comparing it to my Utah dating experience, which
That's
so in Denmark, the way it kind of goes is you're in friend groups, you hang out as friends, everyone's chilling, everyone's hanging out, and then you start having a crush on someone, and then you probably figure out from their friends if they have a crush on you. That's very similar to here. And then you just keep hanging out in groups until suddenly you're like not in a group anymore. And then you're like, but you don't call it a date. You just like, you want to hang out? You want to do homework? You know? And then they kind of go through the steps, holding hands, kissing, and then actually you kind of like ask them if they want to be your boyfriend or girlfriend before you kiss and hold hands, usually. Because we kind of take that seriously. There is no Nick mowing in Denmark. Think about that, everyone. Why are we the happiest country? Oh my gosh. There's no Nick mowing. So that's kind of, so if you would like to ask someone out, you would kind of just invite them to do something. Like but it won't be a date. It'll just be like, ooh, you should play this card. I'm American and I just don't really know what good places are to eat and meet new people. And then they'll take that in America saying Danish. Oh my gosh, that's horrible. Okay, back to Denmark. What else? This can't be everything you've heard about Denmark.
Everybody's the happiest place on earth, right?
Yeah, except did anyone know that Finland just got that title?
Oh.
Yeah, they did.
So we had a Danish exchange student. She said that they don't like Finnish people.
Does anyone?
Well, most in America, we don't know any Finnish people. We don't know that we don't like them because we're bad people.
Is this Chrissy? Did you talk to Chrissy or Emily, like the exchange students?
No, we had one from Denmark.
Okay.
So I was gonna do this thing. I'm like, oh, we should have a Danish exchange student.
That is,
And
Wait.
I asked her, who do they like and not like? They said, we do not like Finnish people.
we also hate Swedes.
Really?
We hate them with a burning passion.
There's a bridge right across though.
No, they're kind of cool.
They have the law where you can beat Swedes with sticks.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
There's that law? How do I not know about that law?
If the water freezes over and a Swede crosses, you're allowed to beat them up with a stick.
Right.
It's some really old law that
Let's see who established that.
I looked up weird law.
What the heck?
Don't talk about Sweden, okay? What are yourself speaking? I feel like Finns are fine. They kind of, I think we're a little bitter that they're happier than us, but I think it's because they have more beer. In my humble opinion, humble LDS opinion. Active. Yeah, we don't like Sweden because Sweden is kind of like. Do you have a sibling that you just hate? Okay, I'm kidding. Who does that? But it's kind of like an older brother when you're like, or like a little brother. Oh, worse. You have a little brother and you're like a teenager, and then Sweden is like our little brother that's so annoying because they're just like us, but like not us. You know, they have better landscape. Yeah.
Is there any like history between Denmark?
There's a ton of history. We have a lot of wars, and it's usually against each other, and we usually lose. So there's a ton of history. Also, there's probably some soccer thing involved.
Okay.
Love soccer and handball. Have you ever played handball, anyone? No. I'm cultured. This is important. Handball is literally, what is it? Soccer, but you throw the ball back and forth, you just throw it to each other.
Sounds way cooler than soccer.
It's very interesting. That's all I can say. My grandma was on the national team, which is cool, but when you look at how small the women's handball league is, it's not that cool. Hey, I'm glad we established this. Any other thoughts? Thoughts before we move on to what's actually true? I'd like, do you have the culture thing from the Kennedy Center? I'd love to discuss that too, because it's related to your impressions.
Yeah, the one thing I remember that one of them, when we were discussing that, they were saying that in Denmark, they like to, in America, we like to do things that are really hard and we're okay failing. And in Denmark, they don't really like failing at things.
Yeah.
Where in the United States, we're like, oh, you failed to succeed.
Yeah,
And in Denmark, they would rather not fail and, right, there was something.
yes.
Me, it was like they would rather not try if there's like a high chance of failure.
I can see that. They're so. I 100%
Probably why they're
see that.
happier.
We're happier because we never fail. No, but that is a really interesting point. The reason some people ask me a lot because they hear about how amazing Denmark is, and then they ask me, Naomi, what are you doing here? And I ask them, or I say, I have no idea at this point, but I do have an idea. And it was because the American dream, you have to realize also that America, there's just a change of mindsets. And so in America, there's a mindset of growth and of also bigger is better and more is better and money is good and, you know, work hard, play hard. And it was kind of that mindset that I really I liked because in Denmark, people think small. You think I'm never like I have friends, and I don't know if this is bad that I say this about them, but I have friends from my elementary school that have just stayed in their own little village of 2,000 people like their whole lives. And that's crazy to me. And or like they just like I don't want to be anything but a humble farmer in my dad's farm, you know? And they never leave the country. Well, sometimes they do, often we do, because we live close to everything, so we can go to Germany for like $20. But there is a change of mindset, and so I don't know if you'll see it, but like, yeah, we don't really try.
How does that affect like business? Cause I feel like in America to that like thought of like, oh, you have to try, you have to like, it's good to go out on your own and like fail, whatever.
Mhm.
How does that affect like entrepreneurship in Denmark? Do you feel like it's as big of a priority as it is here, or is it like?
That's a good question. I know some friends and they've started small businesses. And one of them is actually horribly successful. He sells weight belts. He's like super ripped. And it's like he sells them internationally too. Anyways, and I have some other friends, they also do these things, but they're more, I think there's a mindset coming into the young people now from America that is starting entrepreneurship in Denmark, if that makes sense. Which is way cool because I think they are trying to be more innovative and they're way more internationally minded than the older generation. I can confidently say that. But it also, I don't hear a lot about business things in Denmark. It's just the same businesses, the same things. There's also I'm in a social impact class right now, and they talk about if you want to solve a social problem, you have to look at what's already there. And so I think a lot of Danes, instead of going out and they're scared of starting something new, they just go to improve what's already there. And so I think that's kind of what's affecting entrepreneurship too. So like why add to something when there's something that's working and that you can improve it and make it more effective. What was I saying? Oh yes, the Kennedy Center thingy.
Yeah.
Hey, let's hear.
Okay, I'm just gonna like rapid fire.
Okay.
Basically everyone is part of the Evangelical Lutheran Church, also called the Church of Denmark.
True.
Let's see. Everyone calls each other by their first name, even managers and university professors.
That's funny. That's true.
I wasn't allowed to call any adults by their first name until I was an adult. Yep, everybody, even like my aunts and uncles, Alaska. I know, I think that was just my family. I think that was just my.
Well, that was same for me. You always called everyone Mr. and Mrs. I heard that.
Sister, brother, professor.
Like even as an adult,
It's
like
weird.
adult friends had to tell me, stop calling me Mr. Call me by my first name because you're an adult now. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I've heard of that on the East Coast, but I don't know why. we call them
Like the South, they do like Miss or Mr. and then their first name.
Huh. It's like in England, I did a little school in there and they do the same thing of Miss Sunshine or something, whatever they are.
The most formal we ever wore was at church with brother and sister.
Oh, it's weird. We don't do that in Denmark. In Danish church, you call the bishop, but that's it. I still call the bishop by his first name sometimes. And everyone just calls each other. Okay, what else?
You're not supposed to keep your hands in your pockets while you're talking to someone. It's considered rude. I think that one might be okay.
Yeah, I'm like, I've never noticed that. I don't think anyone would care. Okay, good to know. Like that explains many situations. Doesn't.
There was something on accomplishments. What was that one? The Danish people like to be told on their big accomplishments. right? It was, who was the one talking about the shovel?
It wasn't. Shovel.
Someone was saying that the military shovel that used all over the world was invented in Denmark.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know about the shovel, but, we were
Right, but there's a
very
lot of.
proud for Danish people, like Hans Christian Andersen. Oh, did you know he's Danish? Or like, that one guy, Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. Did you know he's Danish? Yeah, fun fact. What else? Like, there's like sports people or like Lego invented in Denmark. Fight me. And I use them all the time. Like that is such a Danish thing and I do it. But we're really proud. So, a really funny thing that you can do if you talk to people, hopefully you will, is you mention something that you know is Danish. Like, oh, I was just reading one of these fairy tales the other day, The Ugly Duckling. Do you know about it? And they're gonna be like, what? The author is Danish. And then they'll go on a long time. Someone should bring up the shovel. I have no idea about that, but you should bring it up to see if someone knows. Or Mads Mikkelsen. You know, do people love movies here? Good, very good. Mads Mikkelsen is the villain in the first Doctor Strange, and he's also in Rogue One. He's the dad of the main character. He's also in a James Bond movie, and he is
Villain face.
yeah, he totally does.
Yeah.
Stains do. But he's like, imagine him, oh my gosh, they would die. So that's really funny. What else do you have in that cultural thing? Yeah.
There was a thing in there that's saying you're not like, people don't like it if you just like show up at their house.
Oh, yes, don't do that. Oh my gosh, I'm glad they had that in there. Someone really knows. Because okay, I'm just gonna relate this to a personal issue that I have. I have some friends, they live in apartments, house thingy, and all their other friends just walk in whenever they want. They can chill in there, do homework, do whatever. They're super open, super nice. And I just cannot bring myself to just go over there and just open the door. So I call every time and they're like, Naomi, you're always welcome. Just walk in. And I'm like, I still knock on the door and I wait for a response. And they're super annoyed at this point, but I just cannot bring myself to go over there unannounced to personal space. You know, you just don't do that. That's why sometimes it's really iffy doing a lot of door knocking as missionaries. It's like, what are you doing? They already think you're rude when you knock on their door, and then they hear you talking about Jesus, and then they definitely think you're rude. So missionary work is pretty interesting in Denmark, but that's good.
Well, and with it, they also said if you get invited over for dinner, you're supposed to bring a present.
Oh, maybe, because I do that to every dinner I go to here, and I don't see there's some things in my head that I do that I don't know if it's Danish or if it's just me. But I always bring a dessert or some flowers or something Danish because that's my whole personality at this point. And so yes, so I would recommend that. That's just kind of being respectful. Like, you invited me to your home. I bet you cleaned your whole house before I came, and you provided dinner. So bring chocolates. The usual is wine. Don't do that. For more like BYU and church reasons. But you could bring alcohol-free wine, see what they think about that. But some fancy chocolate. There's a ton of fancy things. So do that if you are going over to dinner at somewhere. Have you connected with any of the members in Copenhagen?
A little bit. So with the Kennedy Center, they tell us not to reach out to the churches, which I think is kind of annoying, but
Yeah.
I've connected, there's somebody that's in charge of the subway system is a member of the church, and he's gonna show us around the subway.
Okay, lovely.
And so we've been reaching out to people that are technical.
Okay.
Right? And then I was reaching out to somebody that's in the power industry that runs power plants and stuff like that.
Lovely.
So if, you know, technical people that set us up with technical stuff, so. But, what is your opinion? Are there specific people I should reach out to and like, bishop or, you know, because the one was saying that Copenhagen has a pretty good YSA organization.
Yes, they do.
You have contacts who I can contact to.
You know, I can get those contacts.
Okay. Because it would be nice to just say, hey, you know, can we join you for family evening or whatever
Yes.
night they do their,
Yes,
because I think that intermingling is exactly what we want.
good, good.
Right? But I don't want to overstep, because the whole point is they don't want BYU programs to go over and overwhelm local units,
Yeah.
right?
So
Where
then
they
they're
come,
like, ugh, we hate BYU students.
right, where we come over and say, oh, I expect you to give me a fireside and teach us this and run that, right? We don't want to overload, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's lots of these places. I don't know how big the church is in Denmark.
Yeah.
I've heard that it's.
But that would be really good and totally possible. I can tell you, there's a ton, I mean, the YSA there, imagine they're, half of them served a mission and half of their companions were American. And they probably loved or hated them, but, not because they're American, of course. But, the YSA in Denmark is super open. They love international people. They love international students. There's a conference every summer that covers all of Scandinavia, where all the YSA from all Scandinavia meet together. They find their spouses.
And they do that every year?
Every summer, and they have a specific registration open for Americans. Isn't that horrible and so weird? But I think it's great. But a lot of Americans go over there, they're like, oh, I served in Sweden and I want to get a blonde wife. So I'm gonna go to this conference. And then they come back with a blonde wife and she takes my Danish class, so I'm happy. Not if she's from Sweden, then I don't talk to her. But so we love international students. If I were in Copenhagen as a YSA and I heard a group of BYU students were coming, oh my gosh, I would totally like be active again. Wow, that's yeah.
Is that the like Festa Nord thing?
Yes.
It's happening the last week we're there in Copenhagen.
Stop. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, I have to figure out. It's like if you could go for at least one of those activities, you'll meet YSA from all over Scandinavia. And it's insane. It's such a party, so crazy. I've never been. I'm surprisingly not that social when it comes to Scandinavia, but like in America, social butterfly. So if you have time in your schedule, that will be such a fun experience to see the church. They have devotionals, they have temple trips. So you wouldn't even have to like impose, because you would just be like a handful of students. No one would even notice you're there because a lot of Americans are already there. I didn't know they were doing it in Copenhagen. Dang, I should go. No. So that's super interesting. Okay, I'll get those contacts. I know they won't mind at all.
Okay.
And if they do mind, I can send over a tour guide who gives a lot of tours in Copenhagen. My dad. He's really funny. You think I'm funny? That guy's funny. And he's super Danish and he'll take you to all the different places. But whatever you need, I'll give you the contacts and you can decide on how to use it. But the Festinor thing is really good to know because that's an incredible opportunity. And if you're lucky, I could get you in there for free. It's pretty expensive, but hey, church pride. What we have. What else is in the Kennedy thingy that you thought was weird or you have questions about? Also, how am I on time?
Well, I mean, the class is supposed to go 2 hours,
Holy moly.
right?
Okay,
But we usually don't.
okay.
because I run out of stuff to say, but if you have stuff to say, that's
Oh.
as long as you have, that's good.
I mean,
Right.
everyone-
I'm coming in here and I talk about Denmark. I'm like, "Oh, I don't know anything about Denmark." So There was something that someone mentioned, oh, sorry, go.
Oh, you good.
No, you go first.
Okay, well, but my question was just about like, I've heard a lot about like Danish architects and stuff.
Uh-huh,
And which I'm pretty interested because I used to study architecture.
yeah.
And so like, I was just curious, like what, I don't know, you had to say about like Danish art, architecture.
Did you know that the Sydney Opera House was designed by the
Says it in there.
See, that's me doing that again. But I think art has a really huge role in Denmark. Now, I'm just gonna say art, architecture, is like a category in and of itself because the buildings are so old, but they took masonry and all this so seriously that you'll see the most beautiful buildings, no matter where you are. You can go to a tiny village and you can see some of the most beautiful, just like really old, nice building. And all the churches are gorgeous. So art plays a huge role. And I think it goes back to how we're really open-minded and accepting. The younger generation, you can go and talk to an old person and they're like horribly racist. They also kind of just live by themselves and they speak a dialect that I don't even understand. But we have a ton of museums, beautiful museums. I wouldn't spend time in a museum if I were you, just because the whole country is going to be a museum for you guys that have any of you been to another European country? Yes. Where?
France.
France. It's very nice. Germany? Ah, sehr gut.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anywhere else? Has anyone been? Has anyone? Yeah.
London.
You've been? Oh, I love London. It's also beautiful architecture all over Europe is. But the whole country is a museum. Don't waste your time. And I love art. I go to the MOA all the time by myself. Don't waste your time looking at paintings on walls when you can go out and you see this beautiful landscape. You're going to be in the best time of the year and it's going to be so green. It's going to blow you away. And there's going to be there's so much history to see. So art is important, but you'll see that for free when you just go into a city. They have these yellow streets where it's basically you have like, oh gosh, this is difficult. You have like all the houses and shops, and then it's going to be this like cobblestone walkway between everything. And so you go, when they say you go downtown, it's because you're going onto this, it's called Gågade. It's just literally Walk Street is what it's called. But there's going to be stores and shopping all over the place. In Copenhagen, there's the most famous one and the longest one. It's like, it goes on for miles. And it's all these really crazy, intricate streets. And you're going to get lost and you're going to love it.
And those are only walking.
Only walking, no cars. Isn't that kind of nice? There's gonna be bikes, duh. There are some, I mean, cars do have access if they need to go to a business, but usually not. In the big one, it's all just people walking. In smaller streets, there's gonna be cars, but you'll know which is which. So yeah, that's like my one thing of places to visit. Don't do a museum. Unless if you're really interested in natural history, you can go to a specific museum that's for that specific site that was important. There's one in Jutland where you're going to be spending time. There's a lot of Viking history down there. And so there's a ton of museums just for Viking history. And that's nice because you get to see real replicas of the ships that they had. And that's cool, but it's also pretty pricey. Great. Then what else? Yes, I'm gonna write this up here. Arts important. Speaking of right, sustainability. Sustainability. We talked about that a little bit. But it's important. I think I want to just draw your attention to how clean the country is. Okay, they're clean streets. And nice outdoors again. If you see trash, people usually pick it up. Some people don't. It doesn't matter. In Copenhagen, they have trash cans that have this little like balcony kind of, and you put bottles and cans in there because you can recycle those for money. So they put them there for like, there's still homeless people there and they take the recycling and they recycle it and they get money for groceries. And so I know, isn't that so cute? Ugh. Wait till I tell you that the money is, there's not a lot of money, but you'll see a lot of people, or even just normal people, they'll go around collecting these, or they'll go digging the trash for bottles. There's like there should be like a symbol, like a white thingy, and like the recycling arrow. That's not how that looks. But yeah, a recycling label on all plastic bottles and like cans. And so make sure you recycle, or else like the recycling monster is gonna eat you, okay? And it's me. So recycle or find this to recycle. And bikes, if you have a chance to rent bikes in Copenhagen, it's scary because there's a ton of cars, but don't worry, if you go with the flow of the bikers, you'll be fine. But they're kind of, the bikers know what they're doing. It's not the cars that control the streets in Copenhagen, it's the bikers. And not like vroom vroom bikers, the grandmas on the helmets, they control the streets. So if you have a chance, then you should definitely do that. It's not that expensive. You do it by the hour, and they're just like they're just city bikes, like they're starting to get in Provo. I don't see anyone using them. I just see people stealing my bikes instead of using them. Which I'm really bitter about, but do the bikes. Super fun. Any other things that, we haven't even talked about food. Also, I will just offer this. If you need me to come back and talk about more things, or if you have more questions, I am available this time.
Okay.
And I also don't want to keep you for the full 2 hours because we're all tired. Yeah, right. Okay. That's the directness of me saying I'm tired and I want to go home. I can talk about Denmark forever. Especially food parts. There's so much that you need to know. And maybe next time, if you have time in your schedule for the class, we can talk about sites to see.
Okay.
Would that work? Because I think that'll
Yeah.
take a little bit.
Yeah, do we want to like maybe look really quickly
Yes.
and we pull up, let's see, why don't you pull the screen back down?
Okay.
And let me pull up my list of what I got.
Thanks.
And then you can kind of talk about these so we can get the input for people, what they like and don't like, because I just basically got a list. Here's all the great things. So
I do want to hear your impression of like the free city in the middle of Copenhagen.
I'm gonna bring it up, and I just was gonna kind of sense what the vibe is in this room. The free city is called Christiania. You can, and it is. Oh, you guys, I brought my favorite chocolates. That's European. You can buy it at the bookstore, but I brought it, so we have to open this and eat it before you go.
my wife talked about these chocolate licorice things.
Oh,
that
yes.
she-
Yes.
She says she hates them and loves them because she can't put them down. She
It's
says she likes them so much.
they're
Chocolate covered licorice.
Or something.
it's chocolate covered licorice balls. And so like, it's just, they're like this big, and then there's chocolate on the outside and there's licorice powder on the outside of that. And then inside there's just a licorice gummy thingy. They're super popular, like gifts that you'd bring to houses. Someone always brings that for some reason. And so you have to try them. One really huge tip while I open this. Is you have to be open to trying the foods. Break off a little thingy. And pass it on. You have to try the foods because if you really want to immerse yourself in a culture, you have to know what they're eating. And so
when we were talking about food, some of them were a little wary about the pickled halibut, no, herring.
ew, I don't even eat that.
Okay, good.
Oh, yeah.
And
What's
there's
the
just
same
pickled
sandwich?
herring on top, like raw pickled herring on top.
Lovely. Some people do eat it. I don't. I'm like a woke Dane, I know what's gross. But I also did not eat a lot of fish growing up, so that's why I don't eat. But I do eat, like, the open face sandwiches is something you all have to try. It's gonna be, I wish I could just see you eat them because without any instruction, no one can give you any instruction. You just have to look at this mountain of food on this piece of bread and tackle it from an engineering perspective. And I can tell you right now, you're gonna do it wrong. But like there's a liver paste, like a pork's liver, you boil and blend. Yummy. I love. I know. I don't eat pickled herring, but I do eat a pork's liver. Spread it on my bread. I'm happy. Cucumbers on top, perfect. We'll talk more about food. You don't have to be too, like, yeah, just try the pickled herring for funsies. Never try it again. There are some foods that you have to try and learn to love because you have to love them. But we'll talk about those. Hey, sites in Copenhagen. Oldenborg Castle. Hey, what's the vibe? Like, do you want to look at a lot of history? Do you want to look at a lot of nature? Or do you want to look at a lot of culture? That's kind of like
We've talked a lot about castles so far in the time.
castles.
Like castles and culture, I feel
Yeah.
like.
Castles and culture.
Like, we have nature here too, but.
Yeah.
We've seen plenty of trees, we're good.
Excuse me. What is it like? The aspen forest thing on the mountains, not the same. Oh, Washington.
Washington.
Love
I'm
that tree.
figuring like this will be flat Seattle.
It is flat Seattle.
Yeah. Even, I don't know if chacos are common in
Don't
Copenhagen.
look at me.
And I saw those and was like, wow, it feels like.
It's like such a Mormon mom going to a rave. Anyways,
Is that like the Danish style that you're rocking, right?
okay. I was gonna talk about fashion too, and I'll give you my little spiel. You're all going to look like Americans because of the way you dress and the way you look and do your hair and all these things. And this is me being direct again, that because it's kind of a game for when I go to Copenhagen, I try to spot the Americans and I'm right every time. And the fashion in Denmark, it's forward, it's very progressive again. There's a lot of like loose clothes and baggy things. Like the style for the guys is like a very casual shirt and then slacks and then sneakers. That's the thing. And then long hair. I usually can tell if someone is American from their hair. Like a guy, the missionary cuts. And girls usually, they don't wear a lot of makeup. They keep their hair down. I mean, they are so, obviously, this is different. This is just me generalizing. They don't wear a lot of they wear a ton of layers. It's cold sometimes. In the summer, it won't be cold. And feel like it's a lot of neutral colors with statement pieces. Like I'm wearing just white jeans in this statement right here. And it's also super baggy. This is kind of, okay, if I were wearing like white jeans that were loose and went to my ankles, Danish, 100%. And some sneakers, Danish, but I love my chocolates. Yeah.
Is there like a Danish DI where I could go and become?
Yes.
ignorant?
Yes, you should go thrifting, and you should go thrifting not in Copenhagen. I'm telling you right now, don't go thrifting in Copenhagen. Just go out a little bit from the city, and then you'll go into the small towns where all the old people donate their clothes. And that's where it's at. There's a ton of, like, I love thrifting in Denmark so much. It's a little more pricey. It's not as cheap as DI, except DI just kind of spike their prices. I'm so mad. I only thrift all my clothes, and it's so Danish of me. But should go thrifting, and I'll give you blue goals. This is what you have to. You'll have your phones with you, yeah. Will you have internet?
Yeah.
I don't know,
I
that's
mean, most of the plans have, it's easy to get data easier than voice.
Okay, good.
So most of the people will have, data or, will be on Wi-Fi in a lot of places.
Perfect.
Well,
Then you can use your maps and you can search this, and this will give you the best thrift stores. Okay, good. So you were saying culture and what were you saying?
Castles.
Culture and castles. Then you should go to Rosenborg Slot. You're all just like. That is. That one, the first one. That's where the queen lives. And if the flag's up, the queen's there. If it's not up, she's in her summer castle, which is on another island. I'm kind of sad you're gonna be in Copenhagen because I'm from the middle part of Denmark. And I worked at a castle last summer, and so I could totally get you a tour in there. And it was crazy because we worked with the gardener for the Queen's Castle, the guy that takes care of her kitchen garden. We were working with him, and he was super awesome. So that's super cool. I'll have to, or you could look up. There's a specific point in like the summer where the gardens are open to people, and then they close it for the rest of the year. So you'll have to find out when that is. But then that would be great. Vor Kirke, obviously you have to go there. That's where the Christus statue is. And it'll be insane to see it. The real original Christus statue with all of his apostles on the side. They're huge and they're so cool. Wow, spiritual experience. If you like our family, my family, we always go up to, obviously it's not an LDS church, but we always go up and say a family prayer around it every time we go visit because it's just the best place ever. Super spiritual and so nice. And yes, that's what I have to say. So you have to go to that one. The Marble Church. There's one of these. Okay, with the month that you have in Denmark, you can totally go to the church. Also, the churches are free for just like going in to see. Maybe there's a tour that costs money, or maybe you can sign up for a tour that's free. So all the churches around Copenhagen, that should happen. So the Marble Church, yes. Church of Our Savior, also yes. They're also pretty close in proximity. So you can bike to one day, and then you're like, we've seen too many churches, let's go party. And then I can tell you all the clubs. I'm kidding. I don't know. Little Mermaid statue, also free. There's a ton of tourists. You'll love that. You'll be really like, oh my gosh, me too. Wow. And you'll have to spot Americans. So Little Mermaid is free and perfect. You have to get ice cream at that place. It could be a little
place.
at the Little Mermaid. Okay, it's a little more pricey, because it's a touristy place, but then you just have to get ice cream at some harbor, okay? Harbor area. You'll be in Copenhagen, which is just all water. Also Copenhagen is built on little islands, tiny little islands that are connected with bridges. So if you look at a map, you'll see just like these blobs, and little bridges connecting all of them. So that's my dad's funnest fact every time he talks about Copenhagen. Swallow, that's the longest walking street that I talked about. Have to do that. Nationalmuseum af Denmark. I read that in Danish, but it's totally in English. It could be fun. If it's in your budgets, has a ton of history of all of Denmark, and it has a really cool things. Pretty sure, trying to think of where all the crown jewels are, because those are crazy.
So the National Museum of Denmark has lots of history stuff, like Viking stuff, or is it?
Yes, ton of all Danish history and a ton of real things they've dug out of the ground, and there's runes and
And then we were also gonna go to, in Roskilde, there's a Viking ship museum,
yes,
that one.
yes.
'Cause we're gonna be going to Roskilde because that's where DTU Wind is. So we're
Okay,
gonna go there.
perfect. Then
like
you-
3 times.
Then you should go. If you like those ships or the museum thingies, you should definitely do that. Also, you're gonna be driving from Copenhagen through, right? So it's a little road trip.
Yeah,
So you're not taking, are you taking trains? Or are you renting like a bus or something?
we're renting like vans. So we're
Okay.
gonna rent 2 7-person
Perfect.
vans, and we're just going to have a giant.
I was just curious, do you think it would be like, do you think that like it would be good for us to like get a bus pass anyways while we're there for the month? Or do you think it's not necessary?
I think, because we're supposed to get those cards. They
Cards.
told us to get, that we're gonna be getting this. Regis cord,
Right, a cost.
right? So cards.
Most actually.
Yes, you'll be getting those?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. That's kind of the way to travel, in Denmark. And so,
yeah, because they're kind of like, I don't know, if people been to DC, they have Metro cards. If you've
Yeah,
been
yeah.
to London, they're Oyster card.
yeah, Oyster cards,
card.
yeah.
So it's basically just a travel card that we put money on to, okay? And a lot of that travel is included in the price. Right, so we,
Perfect.
Yeah.
Then, with the buses, it's super organized and it's totally normal to take a bus. If you take a bus here, that's weird. You'll meet weird people. But if you take a bus in Denmark, it's awesome and I love it. It's so clean. You'll still meet weird people, but you meet weird people everywhere. So the only thing with the bus is it could get really confusing if you don't know where to get off and on and stuff like that. I mean, it's like that. There's hours too. And that's great. And I hope you can use those, but it's, even for me, it's confusing. So, but if you have like the same routes that you have to go to, like, oh, this route takes us from our apartment to Stroil, the walk street, which you'll spend hopefully a lot of time because it's just so busy all the time. It's lovely. Then it would make sense to get a bus card. And then you just know a route, and then they always have the schedule posted and all the bus stops, and you know where the bus stops are, so that would be super helpful. And Maidenborg, I'm trying to think, I haven't been there in a long time. I'm trying to think like an American right now. That could be cool. What I recommend, maybe like homework till next time. Such a teacher, so much homework. Just do a little research yourself of places, look up pictures or find out what you can see in these places, and then bring a list back of things you want to see. That could be
because
way
they
more helpful.
talked a lot about this Hamlet's Castle.
Oh,
Uh,
yes, Kronborg is very interesting. I would go there if I were you. I haven't been in
and
a
where
long time.
is this one at? This one's out, they said this is outside of Copenhagen?
Yeah, it's in
I can Google it, so that's fine.
yeah, Google it. I think it's a little more. So we've got rough sketch, Denmark.
Wow.
You're gonna be here. I live here and Waskila is somewhere here.
Oh, I think
You know where it is.
Russ killed it. No, I think we're over.
Yeah, what am I doing? Get a map. But then Kumbal.
Right, so, but see, Rust's field is like right here.
Am I dumb? Of course it's right there.
Right.
Yes.
And you live in here,
Yeah. So.
okay,
I agree.
right, and we're basically just gonna go,
Place called Middle Fart on that map. I
Yeah,
love that so much.
yeah.
Am I a 5-year-old? Yes.
Everyone loves that place. Of course. This spot is actually a really cute place for a date. Like, I love it.
yeah, so we're gonna go through there.
Yes, good.
And we'll stop here, so this is where we're gonna go see where they do the electric grid. Right, how they do the renewable stuff, so there's somebody that has contacts with the electrical grid company. And then we're gonna be going all the way over here.
That is quite the drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Right. Because right here is where the big wind turbine pieces are.
Yes, because it's right by the coast. Oh, this is gonna be so pretty for you
And
guys.
and right over here is where the oldest wind turbine is, somewhere over here.
Yes.
And right here is where they have their renewable industrial center that we're gonna go see. So, and there's some, what did someone call it? Some hippie renewable place that we're gonna go see as well.
Probably.
So they called it a hippie renewable place, but
Renewable place. Haven't heard
So,
of it. They're everywhere.
yeah.
If you go down a little bit. This could be interesting if you have in your schedule, because you're gonna be here,
Yeah.
so if you can hit that. That's Legoland and Lego's
Okay.
main office, and they just, I don't want to turn this into a Lego thing, but like, you're all nerds and engineers, right? Legos. And they just made the Lego house, which is, the architecture is amazing, because it's a giant Lego brick. But like, that's the whole building.
That's
And
there.
so it's there, it's in Billund. This is where Lego headquarters are. You don't have to go to Legoland, it's super expensive. The rides are not super fun. But you could go to the Lego house, they have a ton of fun interactive things. So if that's kind of the vibe, that's more like your inner child, you know, it's not very cultural and it's not very historical. It's just kind of fun. Then you should totally go that route.
I have a quick question for you. So just I feel like in Utah and kind of like where I'm from on the East Coast, it's like swimming and stuff is like really big in the summer, and like there's so much like water here. Is like swimming and like water sports like as big of a thing?
Oh, yes. We love swimming, and that's why we go winter bathing so often. And the water's already super cold, so why would you go in the winter? I don't know. But everyone goes to the beach, so that has to be on your list of things.
And
Bring a bathing suit.
so you're talking about in Copenhagen?
Yeah, so they have
Beaches or?
places where you can like, where you can go, I mean, obviously you're gonna be surrounded by water. And I can't tell you where the beaches really are on this map, but sometimes it's a beach and sometimes it's just like, there's this, it's called a friluftsbad, which is kind of like the public pool, except you don't dive into a pool, you dive into the public ocean. And it's just dive off like they just have this built for the community so they can go swimming. Harbors are kind of nasty. So I wouldn't recommend it, but it's kind of fun. You can meet some people, ask them out. There you go. There ain't no swimming around here. And they're like, you're surrounded by ocean. But go to, that could be like, you would have to just drive a little bit out of Copenhagen, go to like over here. I bet you there's gonna be beaches everywhere. So go to a beach, and swimming is amazing there. Do we have any questions before we like talk about more things next time? Or anything we need to, yeah,
Do people get out of Denmark very frequently?
like to travel?
Yeah, like, 'cause other countries are so close by.
Yes, yes, we do. We are very well traveled in Denmark. Our usual spots are Crete, Crete down in by Greece. That's where people go. They go to Malta. I've never been to either of those places. That's where the rich people go. My family would go, if you can see if you can zoom out so you can see how close everything is. We would go from here and we would drive down, we'd rent an RV here. Just go all over Europe, and it would be the weirdest, like, has anyone seen Family Vacation or Christmas Vacation? It's like a Griswold family thing, but like my family is a Griswold family of Denmark. Where we would go and we would try and hit as many like countries as possible. We go to Berlin because they had Dunkin' Donuts. So our nearest Dunkin' Donuts was there. And we went because of that. So dumb. It's so overrated. And they also got a college junior so I live here and they got a college junior up here. It's like 40 minutes away. I skipped school and slept in a line because they gave the first 50 customers a free burger every year or every day for a year. So they would give that to the first 50 customers. And I skipped class and I slept in that line. And my dad was supportive. He drove us all there. And I saw my math teacher in the line. I just skipped your class. I didn't say anything, but he was just like, oh, the line is so big. That's so unfortunate. And then he went to teach his class. And I'm like, how are you here? We're like 40 minutes away from our school. Anyways, so America, huzzah. College junior, not that big over here. Yes, so to answer your question, with so many other answers, we go everywhere, and I have friends and they'll hitchhike. They'll kind of go to the yellow highways here, and you'll just hitchhike by some of the intersections, and you'll write a city, you'll say Berlin, and then someone will drive past and be like, I'm going to Hamburg, and they're like, oh, let's go. And then they take you there, and then you hitchhike to Berlin, and they can go all over the place, and you can go super crazy places. So we do travel a lot. The plane from here, this is our airport, this is an airport, and this is the airport. You're gonna probably be coming into here. Makes sense. But the flights to London was once down at $10 to fly to London. What are you doing? I did many times. So we travel a lot. Not saying everything is like, also if you have to go to America, no one really goes. That's expensive. The ticket's crazy. I mean, because you're going to Denver. So they're like $1,100 in like the summer. It kills me. But yes. Any other questions? Yeah.
I guess follow-up question.
Yeah.
Is it frustrating to have to exchange your money?
I mean, most of Europe has the euro. Denmark doesn't, because we were like, we can join the EU if we keep our own currency. We're like super like that. And so we keep our own currency, but I'm pretty sure there is a secret rule where every store has to accept euros. But
they all accept cards, so we don't.
Yeah, how many places accept credit cards?
I know a lot of places in Europe, you have to pay to use public restrooms. Is that?
oh yeah, keep cash and
Yeah.
coins for that, because everywhere you have to pay. Also, yeah, there are some places like this is especially in Germany, but where there's like a little basket of just or a plate of coins, and you have to put something there or else you're rude. It's like you tip to go to the bathroom, and you know about tipping in America. If you don't do it, you are horrible. You are the scum of the earth. And so you have to tip because someone is cleaning those toilets and they hate their lives. but they love that money, so. If you see that in Denmark, please give them a good tip. And sometimes we have this assumption in Denmark that if you're American, you're really rich. Well, I don't know why. I cannot tell you why. So you might get some, like, you know, how they treat tourists when they expect tourists have a ton of money, and so they'll try to sell you things. We don't have a lot of that, but like, you could pay a little more than you expected to in Copenhagen, because it's tourist capital, so. And beware.
When you say tip well, what amount would be like appropriate?
I don't even know. It's been a while since I went to the bathroom in Germany. I have to admit. But
Okay.
or
Do you tip in restaurants and stuff like
I wasn't like an adult enough to tip in restaurants.
Well, they
But-
say that in Europe, you don't tip in
You
restaurants.
don't
very much.
really tip. My dad always does because he's so nice. What building is mansion in heaven or something? But the tip or like they're paid pretty fairly. That's what I can say. Servers here. Not so much.
So Isabel has jumped on. You want to just ask your question?
Sure. I was wondering if you are
So-
someone who enjoys
Well-
biking.
Maybe we can't hear you.
She put it in the chat.
Hello?
Yeah, well, maybe I'll just read it. Apparently we can't hear you. So I thought that it was tied into the speaker system, but I don't know how it works in here. Okay, so
Hello?
here is the question about biking. Okay, do you like to bike and how far have you biked?
Oh, I love to bike. We would. Let's see. There is an island. If you zoom in, right there. Is it Tosingen? Oh, I think it's this one. There's this one and there's another island up there where a ton of families, that one, my favorite. A lot of Danish families, when they go on holidays and they don't want to leave the country, they go on cykelferie, which is a bike vacation. And so they'll go to one of these islands and then they'll sleep in like they'll get like not a hotel room, but it's like lower downgrade than a hotel room, but no one really cares. Yeah, it's like nice hostels for families. And then they'll rent or they'll bring their bikes on their cars. And then they'll literally just spend all day biking, pack a lunch, and they've hit there's a ton of bike trails in forests too, and on beaches and looking over a cliff and almost dying. There's a ton of bike trails. And so we would do that frequently. And here I brought that to America. I bike not so much right now because it's been super cold and the ice is so scary. Also the cars, like I'm just waiting for someone to hit me and kill me. Because no one knows how to drive with bikes around. But we bike. Wait, who said something? What did you say?
I said no one knows how to drive with cars.
Oh, please. I think bikes, bad. So answer, yes, I did bike lots. I'm not a long distance biker, but you know, you bike to school, you bike to class, you bike to Smith's, you bike to. One time I walked from here to University Mall because I was like, "Ah, it's only like 2 miles. I can do that." It was not very walk friendly. The way there. It was really bad. Anyways, that was my first year in America when I was naive still. Good question. Any other questions?
What would be the best way for us to attempt to blend in with American?
Good. I was wondering who was gonna bring that up, or I was going to bring it up, because. Okay, I'm gonna go a little spiritual on this, okay, if you don't mind. You're like, how is she gonna do that? I also was an MTC teacher, and so I got this question a lot from missionaries, because they were like, we just kind of want to blend in, and I'm like, you're literally wearing a skirt or pants or slacks, you know, you look like an American. you're not gonna blend in. And my answer to them every single time was, like, who's the best missionary we know from the scriptures? Jesus, yes. Did Jesus ever blend in? To some extent he did, but also not at all. Not at all. Everyone knew where he was, who he was, when he was there. And I'm not saying you're gonna be like Jesus and go on your little mission here for a month, but I'm saying you still represent Jesus University and you still are disciples of Christ, right? And so, are you gonna get into some weird situation of people looking at you weird? Yes, but great, because then they'll ask you, where are you from? And you'll say, I'm from Provo, Utah, or Washington, the better place. So also what I'll tell you as not missionaries and civilians, you're not ever gonna be able to blend in. Because not even I blend in when I go, and it's really embarrassing, but it's the Americanness in me now. I can give you, you're gonna be speaking English to each other. So right then, if someone can just hear you, you're obviously tourist. If you wear that hat, tourist. I'm sorry, but it is. Fashion is mostly how you see tourists from afar, but I'm not gonna tell you to not bring this or don't bring your khaki shorts. Okay, that's the only thing, but that's an American thing. That's a world thing. Okay, I'm not for the khaki shorts. Yeah, don't try and blend in. That's kind of my answer to that. You are exploring a country and you want to get the best experience out of it as possible, which means you're gonna get help from people, and people won't help you if they think you're Danish. So you'll get less help and a worse experience if they think you're Danish. You just kind of have to embrace it. There's nothing you can do. Look at you. Look at how Americans do.
I already.
Possible.
Not the most.
But- yes. Good question. Yep.
It's kind of a weird one, but do people drink tap water or bottled water?
Oh, that's not a weird question. We drink tap water because our tap water is so clean and so yummy. Tap water here, you should see my face. First time I had the chlorine water in California. And then I go here and it's, I still drink tap water because I'm a hippie, so I'm not gonna buy bottled water just for the bottles to go in the trash because you don't recycle them. So tap water. Also, here's a funny rule. This is a law. This is also what my dad tells people. If you go into a restaurant and you ask them for water, tap water, or to fill up your water bottles, legally, they have to give it to you. But most restaurants, when they charge for water, because they still will charge insanely for water, okay? It'll be bad. It's not like in America where oh, can I get a water cup? No, you don't get water cups. You have to charge for the cup and the water. Because they give you ice cubes and a lemon. That's what they charge for. Is that horrible? It's horrible. I've never actually tested that law, so if you go and try and test it out, you might get kicked out of a restaurant because you're like, well, I read this online. They don't care. But also, people are really nice. So if you find a bathroom, you can literally get water anywhere, but they don't really have a ton of water fountains and stuff. So, yes. Other questions?
A big party scene in Denmark, or are people just pretty?
Girl, we party way too much. I'm not saying I did that much, but also I was 18 when I left, and so past 18, that's when you party, But high school parties, insane. Do you know the alcohol policy in Denmark? There is no legal age for drinking, but there is an age for buying alcohol, which you can bypass very easily. Not that I know. But you can just get someone else to buy it for you, right? And it's 16 for beer and 18 for anything stronger. Okay, you can get the hardest liquor possible, 18, or you go to Germany and they still care in Germany, but you can buy way more in Germany because you just go across the border and then different rules and then so there's a ton of partying. But this kind of partying, like my friends' Instagram stories are insane. It's like it's Wednesday night. And I'm like, what are you doing? And they're just like blackout drunk. They're super polite still. The youth when they're partying. And there's a ton of clubs and places to get alcohol. Everyone smokes there. And it's a social concept now where it's like, if you don't smoke, you're missing out on a ton of friends. Because you just go to the smoking area and you're just like, hey, can I borrow your lighter? Yeah, what's your name? Boom. They're dating. So, not someone else. That was cool. Don't tell President Reese that I said that. But yes, I would not recommend partying when you're there, just because you can go to like a discotheque, a discotheque. That's not what that is. That what it's called? That sounds horrible and lame. Discotheque in Danish sounds awesome. You can go dance, have fun, and they'll think maybe you're lame for not drinking, but I mean, honestly, you won't get that much fun out of it anyways. So. Yes, other questions? Well, everyone's kind of like, okay, now we want to go home.
We're talking about food next time, is that okay?
Yes, next time.
Okay, just wanna make sure we know.
If you're okay with me coming back next time, then I really want you guys to, oh, and I didn't explain this, I'll explain that in 3 seconds. I really want you to look into things that you want to see. Also research food. I want to hear what you see that looks super yummy. And then I'll say, it's not. Here's what's actually yummy. And I'll tell you where to buy food. Don't go to all these restaurants. They're so expensive. So go to like the local Smiths that they don't have Smiths, but like that Smiths. They have bakeries and all of those, and they'll be just fine. So